Hi, and welcome to week 2 of Lucid Dreaming 101. I am Crashu, your instructor. This week we're going to be covering dream analysis and reality checks. So we're going to be making use of the dream journals you kept. So you're going to want to get those out later, or you can do it right now. Just pause the video and grab the dream journal while you're at it. And we're going to be analyzing your dreams for things that are unusual, things that shouldn't be happening, things that wouldn't happen in real life. It's just, it doesn't make sense. When we find those things, those are what we call dream signs. They're things that are unique, like chicken barking. You don't see chickens bark, so chickens barking in your dream, that's a dream sign. That shouldn't happen. Uh, that's where the second part of this week's lesson is going to come in, is reality checks. Reality checks are going to be looking for things in real life that kind of seem odd, seem out of place, and you're going to do a test that's going to tell you whether you're actually in a dream or whether you're in real life. And you have to really do the test seriously in order for it to work. What happens is you eventually start doing these reality checks in your dreams, and all of a sudden, before you know it, you are discovering that you have 6 fingers. Oh, I'm in a dream. Boom, you're lucid. It's done. So you just became lucid. So dream analysis, reality checks are very important. When you get lucid through a reality check, that's dialed. That's dream-initiated lucid dreams. That's one of the most basic types of lucid dreams. It's how I oftentimes become lucid as well. So there's a way of already analyzing your dream journal to find your most common dream signs. Once you find your most common dream signs, you're going to use that particular dream sign, and you're going to use concentrate on that in real life to create your reality check. You're always going to react like, say, you oftentimes have chicken barking like dogs in your dreams. Well, that's going to become your reality check. Every time you see a chicken in real life, you're going to do a reality check. That's going to eventually lead to you doing the reality check that much more often in your dreams. So there's 4 main categories of dream signs, and you can find the what I believe is the original version of this in Exploring the World of Lucid Dreaming, which is where I originally analyzed my dreams. Uh, there's also a really handy How to Analyze Your Dream Signs guide that appears to be adapted from that one. It's on LD for All, and it was created by a guy named Spider. And I'm using both his and LeBurge's version of it. I kind of melded the two. I have LeBurge's dream analysis section of his books, but obviously I don't want to get in like some kind of copyright trouble by posting those, so I will not be doing that. But I will link in the week 2 post to Spider's thing, and then you'll have some more examples and some stuff you can read about how to do the dream sign analysis. So the first category we're going to start off with is inner awareness. Inner awareness is anything that's happening inside of your mind while you're in the dream. So it has nothing to do with what's really happening outside. And there's a few subcategories to inner awareness. You have emotions, so your emotion is really unusual. You're experiencing an unusual emotion. The example I have in this slide is I felt extremely happy because my father died. Well, that's kind of, well, some people might actually be happy with that, but that's kind of screwed up for most people. So that is, in a way, just something that is totally something that's only going to happen in a dream. There's a lot of other examples of the stuff as well. And, well, I don't know if you can hear that. My cat's kind of causing some issues here. But continuing on, emotions, any emotion that's just unusual. And you can find some more examples on Spider's thing. But yeah, any emotion that's unusual. So, I was unusually happy that the president was making a speech, or I just anything like that. So I can't think of that many examples. Inner awareness for thoughts. That's another subcategory. Just odd thoughts going through your mind. This could also affect what's going on in the real world. So the example here is I thought I don't want to fall, so I floated. It could be like I thought about driving out to Daytona Beach, and next thing you know, you're actually in Daytona Beach, which is okay. That's not going to happen in real life. You don't just think I'm in Daytona and on the beach, and all of a sudden I am. So any kind of unusual thoughts that it could also just be unusual thoughts like, yes, 2 plus 2 does equal 1, or 3 plus 5 equals 4, because that makes sense. And in your mind, it does make sense in that dream. Well, that's, flawed dream logic. And that's a dream sign. Then there's sensations. So I think I took this one from LeBurge's book, but I'm not sure. If you become sexually aroused all of a sudden, it does happen to a lot of people. Uh, it can kind of be funny, but it could be awkward or something. You're hugging grandma, something awkward happens there. No, I'm just kidding around. But seriously, stuff like that does happen in a dream. It is a good dream sign. Other sensations might be you're standing in the snow, but you're extremely hot. It's like your skin. It's just, yeah, it's like you're in Arizona, but you're in Antarctica in actuality. So any kind of unusual sensation. And then perceptions is the other category. And a good example of this was my sight was blurry. If you're having a hard time seeing things look really weird. It's not the thing itself that's weird. It's kind of like how you're seeing it is weird. Maybe you're hearing really odd noises all over the place, clicks, booms, I don't know. Anything that have to do with your perception, that falls in that category. So the second main category is action, and it has three subcategories. There's an action that has to do with what you're doing. So if you're doing something unusual, that's an actual action, then that in itself is a dream sign. The example here, I lifted a truck. It could be anything. It's like other previous examples I've used. You're flying. You don't think you're Spider-Man, but you have Spider-Man's power, so you're going, slinging webs all over the place. Anything like that, something that you're doing yourself that's just you wouldn't do in real life. It's not possible, or it's so unlikely that it's just completely out of character for you to do in real life. Then there's someone else in the dream that's doing something odd. The example here is he could walk on water. Well, you could have your brother lifting a truck, or your sister's the Hulk, or I don't know, anything. Something. Well, no, sorry, sister the Hulk is a different category. But uh, your sister's fighting the Hulk. I mean, something like that. That's crazy. Uh, Something else being more like an object that's kind of doing something weird. Example here, teacup was dancing all over the kitchen. The toaster is acting like a TV. The TV is acting like a vacuum, like a Roomba or something going around your house vacuuming. Anything like that, an object acting on, well, that's an action category. The next main category is form, and there's multiple subcategories to that. There's yourself, and this is going to be one of the most common things that a lot of people experience in the dreams. When you look at your hand, normally you're not going to have 5 fingers. You might have less, you might have more, but that's a popular reality check. On the other hand, that's not guaranteed. A lot of times I've had 5 fingers in my dreams, or I've had 6 fingers, but I thought they were 5 fingers. I counted them as 5 even though there were 6. But it is a popular way of becoming lucid. So like the example says, I had 12 fingers on my hands. So, but you could also be finding yourself as like a trash can for all I know, or you could be a werewolf, or you could actually be just a wolf, and that would be a change in your own form that doesn't happen in real life. That's a dream sign. Uh, it could be somebody else looks really weird. So, like the example says, he had hair all over his body like an ape. Like I tried to say in the action one, I was wrong. Your sister is the Hulk, or your brother is Aquaman, or something. Well, I'm getting a little bit away from myself here with the form one again too. Brother being Aquaman, not so good. Your brother is like a pile of goop, or made of metal. Uh, then you have a setting form that can kind of be off, like the road curves straight up into the air. So kind of going vertically, you couldn't drive up a straight vertical road, obviously. So there could be a lot of different things. Maybe your roof is kind of bent in an odd shape, like half of it is flat and then the other half of it is rounded, an impossible kind of form or something to happen in real life. And then there could be an object or something else within the dream itself that has a really weird looking form to it. The example, my pillow turned into a squirrel. That's pretty weird, right? I mean, your pillow shouldn't turn into a squirrel. Uh, so anything like that, door turns into a window, mirror turns into door. I mean, anything that any object kind of changing its form or being in a really odd form uh, is yeah. Next main category is context. This one has a lot of subcategories. Your own role. This would be, instead of having Spider-Man's abilities, you'd actually think you're Spider-Man. You'd actually be acting as Spider-Man. In your mind, you are Spider-Man in that dream. Well, that's a dream sign. Obviously, you're dreaming. You're not really Spider-Man. Another person's role. Example, my wife was Wonder Woman. This would be your brother being Aquaman, because Aquaman does. I mean, the Hulk obviously is like an entirely different form, but your wife is acting as Wonder Woman. Your brother is acting like he's Aquaman. They may not even look like them, but they're acting like that. Well, that's out of context. That's not something that's happening in real life. Well, some people maybe, but most people know. So that's out of context. And then another person's place, a person's out of place. So, for instance, your dead grandfather shows up, your dead mother shows up. I mean, anybody that's just shouldn't be there. Maybe your high school teacher, your elementary school teacher is showing up in your high school class, or your high school teacher is showing up as your professor in your college class. The example I used here was one I think I came up with. Sparky came back from the farm to visit, so yeah, you haven't seen Sparky since you're a kid, and you're an adult now, and your precious dog Sparky, just came back to visit you while you're kind of in a dream. Um, and an object's place is another subcategory. And for instance, the phone was attached to the toilet. Well, that's not that normal. Although I have seen phones in bathrooms before, I guess. There are, you could have something like the toilet was in the middle of a park or something, nothing around it. That's odd, it's out of context. You could have a car in your living room. That doesn't make any sense. Why would you have a car in your living room? So anything that's kind of an object that's out of place. And then additionally, with context, you're going to have settings kind of place. So you're in an odd place. Yourself, you're in an odd place. So maybe you're in your childhood home. Maybe you're in like one of those fantasy worlds, maybe Lord of the Rings area, Middle Earth. You're in an odd place. It's not so anything like that, or even outer space. If you're in outer space, you're in a kind of odd setting. It's out of context. For the setting time, well, that's more the time period. You could kind of look at that being in your childhood home, but then you'd also probably be a child at the same time. Setting time more like I'm back at graduation, whether it's high school or college graduation or some kind of other graduation, even though it's been like 10, 20 years since I graduated. Well, that would be out of context for the time period. It could even be you're at a wedding that you went to a long time ago, but it's like it's happening modern day, something like that. Anything pretty much that's out of time context. And then there's also the situation context, and a lot of this kind of overlaps with itself, but for the most part, situation context, the situation itself is just weird. Funerals being hosted in my bedroom, for instance. Why would there be a casket and a whole bunch of people in my room hosting a funeral? It doesn't make a lot of sense. And you'll see that the context guide for the LD for All one does not have as many subcategories. These subcategories are coming from LaBerge's book, which is a lot more detailed. So like I said, if you have the ability to somehow get your hands on it, I would. It can be very helpful. But Spider's Guide is pretty good and will guide you through most of what you need to know as well. And now we'll be getting into some actual examples of how to analyze your dreams. So let's look at the dream journal example I posted from last week. You might have noticed that things were underlined in this dream journal, and that was no accident. The underlined things are dream signs that I spotted. And once we get through looking at this, we'll see what the dreams were. So, I was walking with mom and dad by some kind of park, and the kind of park, immediately, that was a dream sign to me. So, I come over here, and I wrote down on the back of the page here, being in a park, and I put that as context setting place. I don't usually go to parks, I'm not usually around parks, so being in a park is out of place for me. It's not normal. So that became a dream sign. So then we continue on with that sentence. And S, my old babysitter, which, it had been like 10, 15 years since I'd seen that person, was playing soccer with someone at the park. So I marked that one down as well. S, my old babysitter. Well, context character place. There's no reason why my old babysitter should have been in a park where I was. It just didn't make any sense. She's kind of out of place. Uh, there is also two old men. One was like some old timey prospector or mayor, and you see that underline that too. Well, prospector, mayor, old guy. According to here, you can see these numbered out. The form, character form. I don't really remember the dream that well because it was a long time ago, but obviously I noted him as prospector mayor because I couldn't really describe him, and he just looked really weird. So that's why it was a dream sign. He looked really weird to me. So he wasn't a guy you normally see in real life. I started to feel like I should do a reality check because it kind of felt like a dream, but I was also trying to kick the soccer ball, so I became panicked and decided to feel if it was a dream. And this is kind of going to kind of come from, you'll kind of understand some of what I'm saying, or maybe you won't after these next couple weeks, but there's kind of ways that you come to feel a lucid dream. You just kind of can tell sometimes. Uh, Anyways, I underlined that, and apparently I had forgotten about it, and I put it down here at, I think, number 7, which feeling like doing a reality check. I thought a lot of times you'll think about doing one, but then you don't, and then you kick yourself when you wake up because that was an opportunity to become lucid. And so that was inner awareness thoughts because I was thinking about doing a reality check. Normally I'm not like, whoa, I want to do a reality check in real life. Well, I was thinking about doing that there. Let's see. I gotta find my place again on this dream journal thing. I came to the conclusion I was awake, so I kicked the soccer ball, and Mom, Dad, and S and me began to kick the ball with each other. Then we stopped, and Mom told S that I was married and had kids. To which S responds, "You have kids?" Which the thing is, I don't have kids. I'm not married, and especially at that time. And so I put that down as Mom lies to S for no apparent reason because it didn't even make sense why you should make up a lie like that. It didn't really make sense. So that was an character action, because it was really out of place for my mom to act like that or say something like that. It just didn't even make sense. So I said no, and I'm also not married. Mom, Dad, and me were walking back as this was happening, and we walked by the two old guys. The prospector mayor gave me a quarter, but it was large, flat, and a rounded rectangle shape. So again, the odd-looking quarter was object form, because it looked weird. It wasn't like normal looking. You wouldn't get a quarter like that in real life. So uh, it was supposedly made of silver. We talked about quarters or money, or I was thinking about it, and then the dream faded. And you can see there, it's kind of almost a stream of consciousness sometimes. I can't always fully remember everything from a dream. And usually lucid dreams I can remember almost everything. In normal dreams, sometimes I can remember everything. Sometimes I can only remember bits, but I try to write down as much as I can, even if I'm not 100% sure on what I'm remembering. And you can see that talking about money all of a sudden with the old guys was context situation. I wouldn't just randomly start talking about weird things to do with money with just random old guys sitting around some park. And I apparently have an eighth thing that I must have not underlined. I think I was confused and mad about Mom's lie, but I'm not sure. And that was inner awareness emotions, because I really had no reason to be all that mad about my mom lying to the babysitter either. I didn't really care one way or the other when it makes sense anyways. But the thing is, I couldn't fully remember that, so I marked that with a question mark because I didn't count that towards my total amount of dream signs, as I couldn't actually remember anything there. So that's a real basic look at how to do dream sign analysis. Uh, Spider's Guide will also give you a lot of help with that. The Exploring the World Lucid Dreams will help you a lot. And it's kind of just going to have to be a thing. You can ask some questions in the question and answer form if you need some help with it. Others might be able to help you. I might be able to help you, but the thing is, it's a very personal thing. Some of the stuff you wouldn't know unless you were you, because it might seem normal to other people. Being in a park, for instance, is perfectly normal for some people. For me, it's abnormal. I don't go to the park, so it just doesn't make sense. Now we can come over here and look at the lucid dreams that I posted from last week. Looks like I will have to zoom in on that. Uh, Hold on. Okay, we're zoomed in. Now, you can also do dream sign analysis on your lucid dreams because things still happen that are odd in the lucid dream, and it's just what happens. But you can let's look at this first one here. I was in an odd environment like a park or a city square. Well, you could look at that as context where I am. I'm in a odd situation, odd kind of place. Doesn't make sense. Well, that's a dream sign. I couldn't seem to activate my tactile senses, meaning touch. I tried to eat a garbage can, which was part of a challenge I was doing for a lucid dream challenge thing. But before I could bite it, I ended up having a false awakening, which always sucks when that happens. But it happens. Obviously, trying to bite a garbage can or anything like that is kind of weird, so you could even include that as a dream sign. I would take your normal dreams more so for the amount of your dream signs, but it is possible to do this dream sign analysis on the lucid dreams. Uh, Here's another one. I was in bed. I tried to bite off part of my watch, but it was pulling on my teeth and hurting me, so I stopped. Biting off your watch, kind of a dream sign. It's ego action, myself action category. I wouldn't normally try to eat my watch. Here's another one. I flipped over in midair while lying in bed, which caused me to become lucid. Flipping over in midair while lying in bed does not happen. That's an impossible action. So there's another action one. I believe actually action was my main category of dream signs. My eyes seemed glued shut, but eventually my room materialized and I saw the blinds on my window facing the pool. So eyes being glued shut, there might be different ways you can interpret it. I would kind of say it's an action, ego action, but you could say maybe that's like a form issue because your eyes won't open. But eventually, I was able to see anyways without my eyes being open, which in your dream, you don't technically actually have eyes. You're only imagining that you have eyes. So when your eyes are closed in a dream, you can still see. It doesn't really matter. Uh, but that can be really hard. You'll understand it more the more you have the lucid dreams, the more you experience the stuff. I felt the blinds, licked them, and smelt them in order to activate all five senses. Well, yeah, obviously that's an odd action, but that action was done on purpose, and you'll learn later on in this course about dream stabilization, and that's why I did that. When you activate all five senses, the dream becomes more vivid, and you're able to stay in the dream longer. So I just chose some random thing to kind of like try to taste and smell. I also tried to eat a tissue, but spit it out because it was too sweet and doughy. Well, action eating a tissue, and also probably form because the tissue itself wasn't like a regular tissue when I ate it. Not that I eat tissues in real life, but it's not the way I would imagine a tissue would act. Uh, I realized I wasn't really using my auditory sense, my hearing, so I tried to sing but couldn't, and then I woke up. And obviously not being able to sing or something, that's kind of like an ego action. I couldn't actually do something, so that was annoying. And here's another lucid. It was a long, vivid lucid dream. I think it lasted about 3 to 5 minutes. I ate an almond, which really isn't unusual, but I ate an almond. Woo. It was, again, that was part of a lucid dream challenge I was taking. Most of the time was spent trying to find a gift to give to a dream character. As you can see, that's marked LD for all quest. So that's why I was doing that, but I failed. I noticed it was drizzling outside. There's really nothing unusual in that one for a dream sign. I mean, if I really try to analyze it, maybe I could find something, but everything there is fairly normal. Uh, and then we go down to this last one here. You're not always going to have necessarily easily defined dream signs in all your dreams, by the way. But most of the time you can find at least one or two. And this last one here on this example, I don't remember a lot, but it was short. Mila Kunis was there as my spirit guide, which in itself is kind of odd. I don't normally dream about her, and I don't have a spirit guide thing or anything. And in the dream, I also thought that she appears in all of my dreams, which is inner awareness. It was just my thoughts were, oh yeah, she's always in my dreams. She's always my spirit guide. She's like always appearing there, and I'm like, uh, I wake up like, what the heck was I thinking? That's not right. And that's the last part of the dream there, which is obviously flawed dream logic. So you kind of see there her being there out of context, another person out of context. So you go to the context, another person subcategory, and then thinking that she normally appeared in all my dreams, and also thinking that she was spirit guide are both dream signs of inner awareness subcategory thoughts. So that's about it for dream sign analysis. I'm not really going to go over any more for dream sign analysis. You'll probably find more if I can remember anything else to post or clarify in the week 2 post. And let's get to reality checks now. Reality checks are things you're going to be doing during the day. Once you've totaled up, you're going to take your dream analysis, and once you've analyzed all your dreams for dream signs, you're going to count up the main categories, and whichever main category you have the most of, that's what you're going to focus on in real life. So if you have the most inner awareness, then you're going to focus on the way you're thinking, the way you feel, the way you're perceiving things in real life for reality checks as things to do a reality check with. Same goes with action. If you have the most in action, then you're going to concentrate on things that are working odd. People doing odd things, you doing odd things, anything that doesn't work right, that's what you're going to concentrate on. If it's form you're going to concentrate on things that look odd. Probably looking at like museums of art stuff and everything is probably a good example of weird forms. You might see really odd sculptures. Something like that would set you off for a reality check, and that's something you want a reality check on. Context. With context, you're just going to be looking for things that are out of place, out of context. Uh, yeah, I think that kind of sums it up there. Just anything that's out of context, it shouldn't be there. It normally isn't there. Even somebody acting odd. If they're physically doing something, that would be more action. But if it's more personality-wise or something, that would be more context. And so there's different reality checks you can do to see whether you're awake or dreaming. The one I like the most is to pinch your nose. You pinch it so you can't breathe through your nose, and then you try to breathe through your nose. And obviously, in real life, it's never going to happen. The reality check is going to always fail. You're going to be in real life. In a dream, though, when you pinch your nose and you try to breathe through it, you start breathing through your nose, and you get really excited when you become lucid that way because it's like, no way, I'm breathing through closed nostrils. It's really fun. It's one of the funner reality checks and one of the most accurate and easier ones to do from my experience. And so, an example of applying it would be, let's say, you have the most signs in context. Well, some really odd-looking guy comes walking into the place you work one day. You're going to pinch your nose. You're going to try to breathe through it real quick. And if you can't, you know you're awake. But if you're actually in a dream, you'll start breathing through your nose, and voila, you are now lucid. Another popular reality check, you try to stick your finger through your hand. This one never works for me. It never goes through my hand in my dreams. It works for a lot of other people, though, so it's worth doing. Obviously, in real life, you try to stick your finger through your hand as hard as you possibly can, but it's not going to happen. Reading text. Just look over at something, like I'm looking at my computer's name right now, MacBook Pro, and then I look away and then I look back again, and it still says MacBook Pro. In a dream, text has a tendency to rearrange itself or to become really strange or odd. So if you look at something and then look back at it, most likely the text will change, and that's an easy reality check to do. Same thing with looking at a clock. When you look at the numbers on a clock, the numbers will often change when you look back at them. And also just looking at the time period, it could be nighttime out in your dream, but it might say that it's 2 p.m. So that's another way to use that reality check. You can imagine yourself flying. In real life, you're not actually going to lift off the ground and fly. In a dream, you're actually going to lift off the ground and fly when you start imagining that you're flying. And that can be a reality check. That one's not the most reliable reality check, but it does work for some. And then one of the other really popular ones besides pinching your nose is counting your fingers. And this one used to work for me really well, and nowadays it doesn't work as well for me. It varies for different people. All you do is when you notice something odd in real life, you count your fingers. You find you have 5, unless you maybe are only have 4 or something. I don't know. But you find you have your normal amount of fingers. When you're in a dream, you count your fingers. You find you have an abnormal amount. It could be less. It could be more. Usually for me, it's 6 fingers. But you have to be warned when you're counting in the dream. Sometimes it's easy to have 6 fingers, but you count them as 5 because your dream logic's usually not all there until you actually become lucid. And even then, it's kind of questionable unless it's a really high quality lucid dream. So counting your fingers can work, but on the other hand, oftentimes my hands have appeared with only 5 fingers and nothing odd about them. So that's dream analysis, that's reality checks, and that pretty much sums up this week's stuff. Like always, the week 2 post will have anything I might have forgotten. It will have things I'll expand upon. So it's definitely good to always do the presentation that I post and the week 2 post that I post, or the weekly post that I post. Again, my tongue tie here. I think that's about it for this week. So you guys have a good week and good luck with your lucid dreams. Yeah.